Good morning, students. It's nice to get connected to you during this shutdown period. Children, I hope that you are all safe, staying at home. And as I would like to teach you a particular phenomenon in plants, a physiological process, which is somewhat related to the kind of phenomenon that we observe in human beings, right? The process which you have learned in class 9, that is perspiration, or what we call it as sweating. Similar process also occurs in plants, which is named as transpiration. Like in human beings, we lose water in the form of water droplets containing some salts, nitrogenous wastes, as well as water, say 90%. Similarly, in plants, the process by which they lose the excess amount of water that they absorb in the form of water vapor, not as droplets, is known as transpiration. So today I am going to tell you about the phenomenon transpiration. It is a transpiration, and this process is observed in plants. Transpiration is observed in plants, by which the plant lose water, as I said, but the plants, they absorb water, as you have learned in lower classes, through their roots. Suppose this is the plant, right? It has its roots through which water reaches to the aerial parts of the plants, or say the upper part. Now this is the lower part, that is the roots. The roots absorb water, and this water is conducted upward through xylem tissue up to the leaves. And this is a leaf, all these are leaves, and this is, say, the stem, through which the water is conducted upwards. And you know the importance of water for plants is that this water that they absorb, this water which is absorbed by the roots, this water is essential for the plants to carry out photosynthesis. Now this is a phenomenon which is not only important for the plants, but as well as for all the living world, because as you know, it provides food and oxygen. But this water that is absorbed by the plant must reach up to the leaves. As you know, leaf is the site of photosynthesis, so it must reach the leaves. You understand? To carry out this photosynthesis. But this phenomenon, that is transpiration, what happens? The amount of water, say 100% water that is absorbed, only 2%, this 100% that is absorbed, only 2% of the water that is absorbed by the plants is utilized. This 2% is utilized by the plant. For what purpose? For carrying out photosynthesis, for providing mechanical support, that is, it keeps the plant, or say the plant remains upright, right? And for which this 2% of water is utilized, and that is it provides turgidity, you can say. But this 2% that is utilized by the plant, what happens to the rest? 98% of the water that is absorbed by the plant. This 98% of water that is absorbed by the plant is lost into the atmosphere. It is lost into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. It is lost in the form of water vapor. Am I clear? Now this 98% of the water that is lost, you can say that it is actually, you may say that it is lost to the plant, it is a waste, but actually it is not a waste. You can see this is not a waste. It is a life supporting process without which the plant cannot survive. Do you understand? So this 98% of the water that is lost in the form of water vapor, which is the phenomenon we can say as transpiration, is actually helps the plant to conduct water upwards. It has certain significances. But before we go into that significance or importance of this process, let us, as now you have understood that transpiration is a physiological process by which the plant loses water into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor through its aerial parts. Now what are these aerial parts? The stem and the leaf, we can call it as aerial parts. Right? So it is better that you note down the definition, or we can say what is transpiration. The definition of transpiration is that it is a process, the process of water lost, or the process, or we can say better still, we can say the evaporative loss, the process by which the plants lose water into the atmosphere in the form of water droplets vapor through its aerial parts. The process by which the plants lose water into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor through its aerial parts. So in ICSE you need to focus on certain terms or the parts or the phrases like the form of water vapor through its aerial parts. So the process by which the plant lose, or we can say lost water in the form of water vapor. These are important because these terms are considered as the operative words for definition, or else we can make it more easier by saying that it is the process, or say the evaporative loss. More easier process is evaporative loss of water by the aerial parts of the plant. parts of the plants, right? So as I told you, this evaporative loss means the form of water vapor. Now in the form of water vapor, the water that is lost, okay? I suppose you have written down the definition, right? So the water is lost from the aerial parts. Which are the aerial parts? The stem and the leaf are the aerial parts. As you know, these aerial parts must be having some openings or pores through which the water will be lost, or the vapor will escape into the atmosphere. So the openings that are found on the leaf, the openings, or we can say the pores through which transpiration occurs, that is stomata. Stomata is the plural. So stomata, which is found in the epidermis, of leaves. Epidermis of a leaf. So these stomata through which transpiration occurs. Am I clear? Now in the stem there are openings through which, mostly in the old stems, through which transpiration also occurs, that is lenticel. It is known as lenticel. So these are the two openings through which transpiration occurs, that is stomata and lenticels. So old stems have, you can say stems have lenticels and leaves have stomata. Now these are the two openings through which transpiration occurs, lenticels and stomata. Am I clear now? Now as I said that I will tell you why this process, this phenomenon is so very important to the plants. Now this is why it is important, or its significance to the plant is that it is very, very essential that the water that is taken up as it is lost, and this is a continuous process. Like I said, it is a physiological process. Okay. Now the definitions, the openings, I suppose you must have written it down. Let me clean this. Now we will come to the significance of this process. Significance, or which we call it as importance. Importance of this phenomenon. Okay? It is significance 1, that is, we can say it is an essential process because it helps in developing transpiration, right? The absorption process, right? So what happens? It develops, transpiration develops a suction force. Suction force, like I showed you, when it is in a plant, the roots absorb, like, right? These are the roots. When the roots absorb water, they cannot discriminate how much water they need to absorb. But this water from the soil that the roots absorb, it is carried up to the leaves, which I showed you earlier. Now here the water that is coming up to the leaves through the xylem tissue, it's a continuous process. As the leaves lose water into the atmosphere, they create a vacuum here. Now this vacuum starts to draw water as a continuous column of water, right? So it develops a force which is known as suction force. So this suction force helps in upward conduction of water, right? So it's essential, it's not an evil, like 98% of the water is lost, but still the 2% that is utilized, it is utilized for photosynthesis or for mechanical support, whatever requirement the plant has, but it has to reach each and every individual cell, for which the water has to be carried to the individual cells, and that is possible only by the suction force that is developed, right? And we call it as the transpiration pull, right? Secondly, as you can see here, the water due to transpiration is distributed evenly throughout the plant body. Hence a distribution of water, right? So water is distributed, am I clear? Distributed throughout the plant body. Throughout the plant body, right? And then secondly, when there is loss of water, more of water vapor escapes into the atmosphere. This vapor increases the humidity, right? It also is lost in the form of water vapor. So the plant loses some of its latent heat, right? So some of the latent heat is utilized to change water into vapor. Now that is why the plant also is cooled during hot summer. So it helps in cooling the plant. It helps in cooling the plant. Am I right? Clear? Then it also, as the atmosphere gets laden with water vapor, it helps in bringing rain. Right? So this process, another significance or importance of this process is it brings rain. Brings rainfall, or it brings rain or brings more of water humidity to the atmosphere. Am I clear? Understood? But how we can prove that actually transpiration is occurring, because it's the form of water vapor? How can we prove it? We can use I can show you some of the experiments by which we can prove that actually transpiration is occurring in plants. So this experiments to demonstrate transpiration, I will give you an explanation, then we can see in the visual. Let me first explain, right? So experiments to demonstrate transpiration. Experiments to demonstrate transpiration. One is, if you take a potted plant, nowadays at home you must be watering the plants, helping your parents in that way, right? So if you have a potted plant, what you can do is take a polythene bag and cover this plant and keep it in the sunlight for few hours, or even 30 minutes is enough. You will find there will be condensation of water droplets on the inner surface of this polythene bag, which means that some amount of water vapor is escaping into the atmosphere, which is getting condensed. It is getting condensed when it is coming into the cool surface of the polythene. Am I right? You can leave the soil surface uncovered. You can leave the soil surface uncovered because the water from this soil surface may enter into the polythene bag. Am I clear? That will bring a wrong result. Am I clear? Always, as we have learnt in the previous lessons, that we can take this as an experimental setup. We must have a control setup. In a control setup, it is a setup in which one of the factor is deliberately removed. And here you can take a plain polythene bag tied at the bottom, and you will find that there will be no droplets, no water droplets, which means that this is a phenomenon which is occurring only through the aerial parts of the plant. Another, we can take another experiment by introducing a cobalt chloride paper. Cobalt chloride paper. Cobalt chloride paper. Now this cobalt chloride paper, as you know, it has a particular significance that when it comes in contact with the moisture or water vapor, turns pink. It turns pink. But when it is dry, the cobalt chloride paper, moistened, turns pink. When it is dry, it is blue in color. This is pink, or we can call it as, right? It is blue, right? When the cobalt chloride paper changes from blue color to pink, it is a visual proof. One visual proof you have is about the condensation of the water droplets. This we can do it with another experiment in which instead of a polythene bag, we can take a bell jar. We can take a bell jar in the experimental setup, right? In this bell jar, we can put a cobalt chloride paper. This is one setup, setup one. Another setup you can take with the same type of plant, right? And cover it with another bell jar. But here you put a dry cobalt chloride paper. It's anhydrous or dry cobalt chloride paper. But one precaution you must take is that this pot should be covered with a polythene bag. That is, the pots or the soil surface must be covered so that water from the soil surface will not enter into the bell jar. Am I clear? So this is another setup, and a plain setup we can take without any plant, only a bell jar with a cobalt chloride paper. Right? Dry cobalt chloride paper, but no plant. Now here we are having, in the first setup, this is setup 2. In setup 1, you only have water droplets. In setup 2, you will have water droplets along with the cobalt chloride paper. Right? Now let me show you a visual, that is, which will give you a more clear idea about how this process occurs. Right? Now,
a well-watered potted plant is taken. The exposed part of the plant is covered with a transparent polythene bag. The bag is tied to the stem of the plant with a string. Similarly, another string is tied around the empty polythene bag, which will act as a control. Both the plant and the empty polythene bag is exposed to sunlight for 1 or 2 hours. After 1 or 2 hours, drops of water are observed on the inner side of the polythene bag used to cover the plant. But the empty polythene bag does not show any drop of water. The water drops on the polythene bag appeared due to the saturation of water vapor released by the plant during transpiration. Let's demonstrate transpiration in plant with the help of a bell jar and dry cobalt chloride paper. A well-watered potted plant with broad leaves is taken. The pot containing soil is covered with a transparent polythene bag. The bag is tied to the base of the stem with a string. The entire plant is placed under a bell jar and labeled as Setup A. Another similar setup is prepared and labeled as Setup B. A piece of dry cobalt chloride paper is pinned to a wooden stick and placed within the bell jar. Similarly, Setup C is prepared with a similar piece of cobalt chloride paper but without the plant, which will act as a control. All the 3 bell jars are exposed to sunlight for about half an hour. After half an hour, drops of water are observed on the inner side of the first and the second bell jar. At the same time, it is observed that the cobalt chloride paper in Setup B turns pink while the paper in Setup C remains blue. Also, the inner walls of the bell jar in Setup C do not show any drop of water. This indicates that the drops of water accumulated in the bell jar is due to condensation of water vapor released by the plant during transpiration, which changes the color of the cobalt chloride paper from blue to pink.